Just over a week ago, on August 10th, Russia launched a Soyuz rocket carrying a special payload. The original plan was to launch on the 10th and land safely on the moon between the 21st and 23rd, only days away. On board was the country's first lunar lander in nearly 50 years, since the Luna-25 mission in 1976.
This, I'm afraid to tell you guys, well, you don't really need to hear it from me. It's obviously a terrible space prop stroke art project. Dear, oh dear.
Yeah.
More angles of this silly Luna-25 lander. Then we get this shot of what appears to be the team. And what's strange, when we do zoom in, I called it like an art project. And it would seem we've got nothing but young people here involved in this silly, terrible looking art project. No one looks impressed. Can see they even got the dinner lady out here in the middle. She doesn't look impressed. She's looking at all that tin foil thinking, I could have done so much more. You could have, my dear. That is terrible, lads.
The Luna-25 mission lifted off on the 10th at 7:10 p.m. EDT atop a Soyuz 2.1B rocket. The launch was nominal and the lunar lander was successfully deployed, expected to take about 5 days to reach the moon. As planned, on August 16th, the probe entered lunar orbit. This is also where problems would start to occur.
Now we start to see them load this work of art onto the rocket that's going to take this beautiful bit of technology, supposedly, to the moon.
Everything was going well until the probe reached orbit and issues came up surrounding the main engine burn.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I think we get to see the rocket now. So the lunar lander's been put in the fairing, which is the white bit on the left-hand side. And of course we get to see this Soyuz rocket here in all its glory here before it goes to the moon. More shot being transported to the launch site. This is a shot actually at the launch site. And this is where the problems begin, okay? I do love a good firework display, but there's an obvious problem here. Most of you, I suspect, would have spotted it. Let's go back. Here's the Soyuz rocket that the lunar lander was attached to. Here's the Soyuz rocket that we just saw take off that's supposedly going to the moon. See the problem? Two totally different rockets. The rocket we saw the lunar lander attached to isn't the rocket we saw take off that was sighted as going to the moon. That rocket is white. The rocket we saw the lunar lander loaded to in the fairing is grey. All right, it has white fairing, but even the fairing is different. You've got ribs at the bottom of it where the fairing attaches to the rocket body, and at the end, the actual nose of the fairing is quite round. You then go to this rocket. There's no ribs where the fairing champers into the actual rocket, and the top of the fairing, essentially the nose of the rocket, is quite flat in comparison to this one. The grey rocket had the lunar lander loaded to it, yet the rocket that's supposedly going to the moon isn't the rocket that the lunar lander is attached to. You see the obvious problems with this silliness yet again. And this silliness ain't over. There's a side-by-side. There's the grey rocket at the launch pad. Let's head back to the footage anyway, because like I say, this silliness isn't over yet.
Only a few days later, on the 19th, Roscosmos declared an abnormal situation on the lander after issuing an unsuccessful command for a short engine burn to move the lander into a pre-landing orbit. Specifically, talking about the engine burn, Roscosmos was quoted saying, "During the operation, an emergency situation occurred on board the automatic station, which didn't allow the maneuver to be performed within the specified parameters. The management team is currently analyzing the situation. At that point in time, Roscosmos was still trying to contact the lander and weren't sure exactly what had happened or even the state of the probe.
And so they were also on their way with their tinfoil contraption. I don't know what this gold acts as or how it's going to protect these curtain rods, but it's essential, just like it was with our moon mission named after false gods as well. But at least Russia has shown us pictures of Earth. Here they are. This is Earth right here, by the way, if you didn't know. It just happens to look like someone's cell phone light in a dark room, which actually may be what it is. I feel like they have just gotten so careless with deceiving us that they don't really try. Like they just take out a camera that they brought with them from the 1930s and take these pictures and blame it on exposure or whatever. I don't know. That's definitely not what we live on, that little light right there. But as ridiculous as these things seem...
No I co uważasz?
No, moim zdaniem, według mnie, kilka niedociągnięć jest.
Kilka niedociągnięć? A gdzie tu są dociągnięcia? To jest jakaś prowokacja.
About 1457 Moscow time, communication with the Luna-25 spacecraft was interrupted. The measures taken on August 19th and 20th to search for the device and get into contact with it did not produce any results. According to the results of a preliminary analysis, due to the deviation of the actual parameters of the impulse from the calculated ones, the device switched to an off-design orbit and ceased to exist as a result of a collision with the lunar surface. A specially formed commission will deal with the issues of clarifying the reasons for the loss of the lander, they said. While even this statement doesn't share too much information, it confirms that the engine burn complication managed to eventually send the lander crashing into the moon.